I have never met anyone like Pete. All Pete wanted to do was help other people. And he didn't want anything in return, except the feeling that he felt when he did help other people. He saved my businesses during the Great Recession. He saved my marriage more than once. He kept our children safe and took good care of them and made them happy. And he kept encouraging me to keep running for public office even after I lost one race after another. Pete was so intelligent, often making jokes about his genius IQ. He had the greatest people skills, always building people up and making them feel good about themselves. He had a great work ethic, but the thing that Pete was most proud of was his loyalty. No one was more loyal than Pete. I will miss Pete every day of my life.
What I'd like to say about my brother Pete is that he was the most caring, generous, kind-hearted person to everyone that knew him. Our family is overwhelmed by this wonderful tribute in honor of my brother. I know Pete's shining down on this professional center from this day forward.
My Uncle Pete was the biggest influence and male role model in my life. He taught me to be caring and considerate of others while being tough, mentally, physically, and emotionally. I'm so happy and proud of the man that he was and the impact that he made on everybody's lives.
Hey everybody, my name's Katy Temple, and I wish I was with you celebrating that awesome, hilarious, ridiculously smart, sassy Pete Zopolos, and a special hug and kiss to Jim and Suzanne. I love you guys. And Danny, thanks for doing this and putting this together. But I grew up with Pete in Merced, California, and he was part of our family. And he always made me laugh, and he was always a great conversationalist and had a quick wit that was so funny and had an even better sense of humor. So I think about him all the time, often, and I wish I was going to be there with all of you, but enjoy, 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 and thanks for celebrating him together.
And I just want to let you know, man, I'm still at the Hope House, and I'm in your room now. and I believe your spirit is still in there. And your spirit is in this house.
Yeah, I really miss you. And thanks for spending the last 2.5 months with me, man. Just hanging out, going places and doing stuff. I miss that.
Pete was a big man with even a bigger heart. My fondest memory of Pete is when he offered to get me an autographed basketball from the Tark. So I was really excited, and he brought me the ball, and I looked at the autograph and I said, "Is this really real?" And he was like, "What, do you want a certificate of authenticity?" I go, "Well, I need something." And so this is what he decided. Rest in peace, Pete.
Pete was one of the kindest people I ever had the chance to meet. I'm so lucky that I got to spend time on this earth with him. He was a good man, he was a good person, he was a kind friend, and one thing that everyone who knew Pete knew about him was that he really cared about other people. He lived for other people. He always made you feel welcome and warm. He always had a kind word to say, a question to ask about how you're doing in your life. We always used to talk politics, we talked sports, and he would always ask about my family and my kids. He was just such a kind person. And I'm so lucky that I got to spend the time that I did with him, that I got to meet the Tarkanians through him. And he was just a special person. We love you, Pete, so much. We miss you. And the world's a better place because you were here.
Pete was not only a great property manager, but he was a great friend. In the short time that we worked together, I appreciate the way he treated me, the way he treated others with respect. And he made me a better person. And I'm grateful for Pete, for what he taught me, and I look forward to seeing him again, and God bless him and his family.
When Danny reached out to ask if I would say a few words about Pete, I was touched to be included in celebrating him because Pete was one of the most kind and caring people that I will ever have the honor of knowing. Pete and I worked together at the Tarkanian Professional Center for several years, with me as Danny's broker handling leasing and sales, and Pete handling all of the other aspects, such as management, construction oversight, and everything else in between. Pete and I had a warm friendship and enjoyed kidding each other, and one of the ways that I loved razzing Pete was by telling him that of the two of us, I was Danny's favorite. Whenever I would say that, Pete would just flash that beautiful smile of his at me because he knew it wasn't true. He and Danny were closer than brothers, and Pete always had wonderful stories to tell me about Danny and his family. Pete helped me in many ways at the buildings, but one of the ways is I could call ahead, and if I had a showing at the building, and Pete would always leave the door to the suite open for me. No matter what he was doing, he would drop it to help. But then that was the essence of Pete, always kind and caring. So today, I want to leave with this thought. Pete, this is not goodbye, but rather just so long, as I know I will see you again. And Pete, my friend, don't forget to leave the door open for me.
Hey everyone, my name is Josh Temple. This might take a little longer than most speeches, but believe me when I say it'll be worth it. This is a VHS, and I just want, just in case there's any of Pete's girlfriends watching, they skewed a little bit younger than VHS and were more DVD or streaming kind of people. So this is before DVDs. 1986 to be exact. So I am not Pete's closest friend, I am not Pete's oldest friend, but the Temple Five in Merced, Ralph Temple, my dad, Jeannie Temple, my mom, my older sister Katy Temple, myself and my younger brother Mitch Temple, we were like a fierce five friendship with Pete. Pete was a Temple. I mean, he was a Zopolos, but he was also a Temple. And we all loved him fiercely. He could come over to either house and just hang with any part of the family. I met Pete when I was a gangly junior high kid, and he was doing some chores, pay off some legal fees for my dad. And so Pete had to be nice to me. It was smart to be nice to your lawyer's kid. But a couple years later, he didn't have to be nice to me, and he was. He's the reason I know how to drive stick. I was 15 years old, and Pete taught me how to drive stick. He was 18 at the point. He was cool, he was prime Pete. King of the campus, king of high school. And he was helping out a geeky 15-year-old. That's prime Pete. Not the strongest dancer, but that's the Greek god. That's the Adonis right there. He's 18, 19 years old, coolest guy, and he's hanging out with two geeks with bad mullets. But he could do that. He could be goofy. A lot of people love Pete for a lot of different reasons. We laughed so hard together. He came to my graduation, we laughed. He came to my wedding, we laughed. Even though he's allergic to weddings himself. He'd come down to LA and he would talk with Hollywood producers and stuff, and they'd all ask, who's he with? Is he with an agency or production company? The guy had the gift of gab. He was amazing, and the kindest soul you've ever met. Zopoloses, I know he was a Zopolos, but thank you for sharing him with the Temples. He was a dear friend to all of us. We love him. We will never forget him. We will always treasure him. And let's just kind of go out on Bobby Brown. Rest in peace.
Hi, I'm Ava Tarkanian, and I have so many wonderful memories about Pete Zopolos. He was there from the very beginning time that Danny and I started dating. He was there for our wedding. He was there for the births of all 4 of our children, and he has helped me grow tremendously as an individual over the time that I actually started on television as well. He helped me write scripts, dot every I, cross every T, and he helped me expand my thought process in so many ways. I'm so incredibly grateful for Pete and his kindness, his compassion. He was selfless, almost to his detriment. He never hesitated when anybody asked for assistance. He could almost sense if there was tension or stress, or if anyone needed help. You almost didn't have to ask. He was always waiting in the wings. I called him my second husband because when my husband was busy or away, Pete was always there to step in and fill in the gaps, whether if it was helping with my children get from point A to point B, or if our dog, Jakey Pie, who he also loved, needed to be fed while we were out of town. He never hesitated. In fact, those two would fall asleep on a regular basis whenever it was movie night, and you could hear them both snoring in sync. He would tend to my mother-in-law and make sure that all her needs were met, and would stop by unexpectedly just to check on her. He was an amazing man, and we loved him with every ounce of our beings. There is a huge hole in our family that will never be replaced, and we are so grateful that you shared your son with us. It will never be the same. Thank you so much for sharing, Pete.
Hi, I'm Ashley Tarkanian. Growing up, Pete was the coolest adult I knew. He's the reason I grew up loving the Packers, and watching it together was so special. He was also very protective and sat me down for a talk about saving myself for marriage. He said, "No one wants to use a used toothbrush," and that has stuck with me since. If anybody else gave me that talk, I would not have listened. He also would drop everything to come and pick me up, drive me all the way to my friend's house, and sit in the car for hours. When I was done, he would ask me how it went, and me telling him how happy I was and how much fun it was brought him so much joy. I'll always miss him, and I love you so much.
Hi, I'm Ava Tarkanian, and these are my memories of Pete. He always babysat me, and whenever he babysat me, he let me sit very close to the TV, which is probably why I have to wear glasses, and he let me watch SpongeBob and a bunch of other TV shows, but SpongeBob was his favorite. He always seemed to have that on, and he always took me to tennis whenever I asked him to, and he always dropped everything when I needed him to do something for me. He was very generous and nice. For my birthday, he always gave me, if I turned 9, he'd give me $90, which is very generous for a 9-year-old. I should not have had that much money in my bank account at all. But he was very generous, and he gave me that without me even asking for a present. And he always brought us donuts, and when I was campaigning for my dad, he would come around and he'd say hi. He always brightened everybody's moods. He was just that type of person. He always made everybody happier.
Hi, my name is Jerry Tarkanian. Pete was special to me because he always came to my baseball games, and he got me Chick-fil-A a lot. He got me so many donuts that I can't even have donuts anymore. He would come over on New Year's and 4th of July and light fireworks with me, and that was pretty fun. I really miss Uncle Pete.
What Pete meant to me, he was like a second father to me. He always told me if I ever got into a situation that I could not tell my dad, my mom about, that he would always be there for me. He always cared about me like I was his own daughter. He tried to spoil me. There's this 2 places that we always go to eat. It's called Sushi Burrito and Cafe Rio. He'd ask me which one I'm feeling like, and let's say I say Cafe Rio. He would take me to both anyways, just so I could have one for leftovers the next day. He wanted to spoil me, and just making me happy made him happy. He cared so much for me, and he would send me random paragraphs about how beautiful and blessed I am, and how I should be so happy, and how he'll always be there for me.
Hello, this is Pastor Joby. Let me share with you the opportunity God gave me in the last year to answer many of Pete's questions regarding the Bible, heaven, hell, God. Pete had a lot of questions, and God gave him all the answers. And in the end, Pete put his trust in the finished work of Christ on the cross, and he is in heaven. His name was written in the Lamb's Book of Life. So Pete, we miss you, buddy. We love you. We look so much forward to seeing you again. Don't have too much fun up there without us. And meet us at the gates when we come to see you. God bless you.
I first met Pete in 2010 during Danny's campaign for the U.S. Senate. Pete walked in the room and was carrying in boxes of snacks and cases of sodas for the volunteers. Little did I know that he would become my best friend. During the 10+ years that I knew Pete, he constantly served others. There was never a task too big or a favor too small for Pete to handle. Little did I know that he would become my best friend. As time went by, I discovered what a brilliant writer he was. Danny would ask us for a campaign press release or a speech, and I would work hard and do the very best I could. And then Pete would come to my rescue. He would call me, and then we'd go through it line by line, and he'd edit it. And in the end, it would be something that we could both be proud of. Sometimes he would even call, and we'd talk for hours and hours brainstorming on what to write. And he would toss out ideas. I'd go ahead and type them up. And in the end, it was beautiful. When I first began thinking about what I wanted to say about Pete on this video and the friendship we had, I was afraid I would ramble, but I briefly thought, that's okay. I'll have Pete edit it for me. I miss you, Pete. I love you, and I'll see you in heaven.
Packing up the dreams God planted in the fertile soil of you. I can't believe the hopes He's granted. Means a chapter in your life is through, but we'll keep you close. As always, it won't even seem you're gone, 'cause our hearts in big and small ways will keep the love that keeps us strong. Spring And a friend will not say never, 'cause the welcome will not end. Though it's hard to let you go, in the Father's hands we know that a lifetime's not too long to live as friends, to live as friends. Oh, it's hard to let you go, in the Father's hands we know that a lifetime's not too long to live as friends. No, a lifetime's not too long to live as friends.